Hi everyone and welcome to the Microsoft Fabric UK user group and happy pre-Easter. If you could, please let us know where in the world you're joining us from in the chat. I'm your host Leon Gordon and I'm here with my co-host Pragati Jain.
Hey, Leon. Hey, everyone. Yeah, happy Easter in advance. And I'm quite happy today because I can see some sun out. I mean, it's a good sun out in London. So, yeah, very bright, keeping up the spirits. And yeah, can't wait for our today's session. I mean, something new in Fabric. And I think this is the first time we are going to have a session on this topic from Fabric. So, I'm really keen to see how things are. And how about you, Leon? How's your day going?
Yes, very good, thank you. Very busy. I've seen the sunshine out of my window. I haven't actually been out in it just yet, so I'm hoping that it remains for the rest of the weekend. But Pragati, I think just before we get into the session, not only myself, but our users probably want to know what is your favorite Easter egg?
Easter egg, I have no clue about it. I know there's something called Easter egg. I've never tried it. Do you
Yes,
mean the flavor? I mean, from flavor point of view, Easter
yes,
egg?
the type of chocolate.
I definitely hate the mint ones. So that's absolutely no for me. Bring me any kind of chocolate one, but not the mint one.
Oh, perfect. I'm
What
going to
about
know
you?
future. Well, Pragati, I don't actually eat chocolate, so there'll be no Easter eggs for me, unfortunately, this year. But I am hoping in today's session we unearth some Easter eggs within a new feature, like you've mentioned, Pragati, within Microsoft Fabric. And there's probably no better time than to introduce our speaker today and their topic. So we do have our fellow MVP Tom Martens joining us today, and we're going to have a session on Microsoft Graph within Microsoft Fabric, and it's going to be an introduction. So, Tom, thank you very, very much for joining us today.
So I cannot understand, Leon, why you are not eating chocolate. And please excuse me, Pragati, please excuse me, Leon. I do not believe you that there is sun in London because
What?
I think autumn, probably winter is coming back to Hamburg. So it's freezing cold. I
No.
do not go outside, but maybe now I know where the sun is. It's
Yes. Please come and join us in person. And Tom, on that note, we probably need to know what your favorite Easter egg or chocolate is now as well.
so bring me all the chocolate, including mint, except chocolate with almonds. So basically, I eat everything.
Okay.
So when I already had my favorite my favorite Easter egg. I got it early during SQL conference in Hanau, early March, because I got a present. It's called Überraschungsei, chocolate with tiny gifts inside, and I got this. It's the Mandalorian.
There we go.
Wow, love it.
Oh, my favorite character from Star Wars, and I'm happy.
Oh, amazing. So we've learned something new about everybody today, which is great.
Yeah.
We're also going to learn something new about Fabric as well, Tom. So thank you very much for today's session. We'll go ahead and hand over to you, and we'll be in the background moderating.
So yes, I'm really looking forward to it. So and it looks you're seeing the dark screen with white characters, right?
Yes, we are.
Cool. So Microsoft Fabric Graph, an introduction. Not sure if you have tried it, heard it, and I am pretty much convinced that we are entering some kind of new era in the type of analytics. We meaning the Microsoft Data Platform team, because now we have GraphDB. So this GraphDB is not new. I will come to it, and I'm also provide a little bit of introduction, how it looks like, how it feels inside Fabric. I also heard that GraphDB and Fabric is becoming a GA in the next couple of weeks. So not next couple of months, next couple of weeks. So this is also good. Yeah. So, and agenda, who I am, why graphs, why now? What is the difference between relational and relational databases? Let's call it Access, SQL Server, Oracle, Postgre, or things like that, and graph. And also there's some kind of comparison between my favorite analytical query engine, the semantic model or Vertipack, inside this thing, inside Power BI, that allows us to fill pie charts with data. And some key takeaways. So who I am. So this basically is my first presentation where I have updated the number of years I'm currently doing it. So I realized I'm not doing it 30 years, but all other presentations, things like that, are a little bit, let's say, lying, because they told I do this for 20 plus years. So, and yes, I know you don't have to tell me. I know I'm looking like 27, but I can tell you I'm not 27 anymore. So now it's this relation, 29 years of analytical solutions using Microsoft Data Platform. I'm a solution architect at Munich Re. People who are working for Munich Re are saying it's the largest reinsurance company. So, and maybe other people's or other people telling me, yeah, it depends on the quarter result. So, why graphs, or why now? So the GQL, the graph query language, is new. It has been released, or there's a standard, ISO standard, and this was released in 24. So basically it's a little bit older than that. I also will mention something different, and this something different is Neo4j, and they are around for quite some time. But this standardization happened just 2 years ago. Fun fact. Microsoft Graph, or Microsoft Fabric Graph, was introduced in October last year, and it provides analytics on one lake. No, there's no ETL necessary, no data duplication. So basically, so it's sitting on top, for example, on top on the gold layer inside your lakehouse. I assume all of us are using large language models in one or the other way. Maybe you are using Copilot, maybe you are using Claude, or whatever. You are have conversations with your favorite agent, and all these things. What they have in common is they are founded on large language models, and all what these let's say, have in common these models are the knowledge graphs. And this is something that makes these graphs, graph DBs, very, very attractive. So what does this mean? I can, for example, answer or raise the question like, what are the top 10 customers? What products have the top 10 customers bought that also other customers have bought? And this then is somehow translated into GQL, blah, 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 meaning GraphDBs make accessible, not just for business users accessible, but of course, not just for large language models, basically for all kind of questions that are focusing on relationship between nodes. So this, what a relationship or an edge and nodes are, I come to this right now. So sometimes nodes are called vertices, edges, or relationships. So, and a node, a vertex or entity are people, products, cities. So, and why is this so important? Because I want to know how I am related to someone in my social network, how many people are in between. These are the entities, and if you are wondering, if you want to answer these questions with our friend, the Oracle database or an Access database or probably SQL Server, this can become difficult. So there are nodes, an entity, and these entities are related. So, and then now it's also becoming, let's say, mind-boggling a little bit. Because if I say yes, you have to imagine an entity, and these entities are also carrying properties as key value pairs. Maybe then you are wondering, you're not talking about a table, right? Because I have a table inside my SQL Server, and this table is called products. And on the other hand, there's a relationship between an order table or a purchase table or sales table, because there's a primary key in the product table and a foreign key in the sales table. And this is how it relates. So, and then, so this is not that new. Basically, it is, because the most important thing in a graph database is a materialized, let's say, relationship. And this is something that is not happening, especially, or even if you consider more complex indexes. These materialized edges relationships are allowing fast traversal between related edges. So, and now you see it. How can you imagine that? A fact row is like an act because it relates a customer with a location and a kind of store, Munich location, bakery. So these are somehow, you can imagine a fact table as an edge, but do not get trapped in saying that a fact table in my lakehouse or your Synapse data warehouse is an edge. It's not. Somehow it helps, but do not get trapped. So this is how it works. So if you have a past or are standing with both of your feet into the semantic model swamp, pond, ocean, then you know what I'm talking about, because their relationships, at least regular relationships, meaning one-to-many relationships, are materialized under the hood. And this allows tremendously fast aggregation of large amounts. And this is also one of the reasons why a couple of slides also contain the comparison between a semantic model or semantic Vertipack engine. When I am entering something new, like the graph model, I need comparison. This is like this that I know well, or that I know well, or is this completely different? I'm always comparing things and have analogies. And if I think I have understood this new thing because of that analogy, I also have the tendency to really ask myself, was I fooled by this because I compared it with that? Or is this really similar? So it's, some things are close, some things are completely different. And for this reason, be careful if you say, this is my node, my table, my dimension table is a node, and fact table creates some kind of edge. Yeah, probably helps, but it's not the same. Paradigm shift. So this is what you might or might not know. 45 minutes to lunch, and then someone asked, maybe probably your manager, what is this question? And then, so basically a top 10 is not a problem at all. Other customers bought the same customers. It's also not that a problem, but then what might break us or break the neck, what else did these other customers buy? So this is a 3-hop blah 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 join with customers, products, things like that. And so how do I know Leon or Pragati on LinkedIn? So basically direct, because we are connected, but then there's a second saying, blah, blah, blah. You can do this also on LinkedIn. And this needs joins, a lot of joins, to find all capabilities or friends or products or customers. So this is difficult. These questions are difficult using our beloved relational engines, or even it's also not that simple. It's also not simple using Vertipack or semantic model. 6 tables, 5 joins, and we are only traversed 2 hops. So this is how we do this kind of thing with relational models. I need products, customers. Maybe I also want to do this in the last 6 months, 6 days, last year. I also probably need some kind of location information if I'm talking about this bakery mentioned earlier, this person who's buying something in a bakery in Munich, probably me, when I'm in Munich. And then I start doing my question, and then I'm using the result as an input for a subquery, as an input for a subquery, as an input for a subquery. So this can be time consuming, and sometimes it's also not only time consuming, sometimes it's also mind boggling, and of course it costs performance. So this is basically how it looks like: join here, join there. And this is how we do that. Simple as that, maybe. Self-joins, deduplications, and we are even not close in the top 10 customers. You remember this first, the question, what are the products? What other products are customers buying who buy the same products like our top 10? So now we are entering this. So please forgive me. Where is this? I stopped presenting mode. Are you still seeing now my PowerPoint? Not in presentation mode, but in edit mode?
We are, Tom, that's correct, yes.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Thank you. So I did this stop presentation mode because I realized that something happened on this presentation. And this presentation, for whatever reason, it got these bullet points for this. So now we are entering GQL, Graph Query Language, and this is valid syntax. This is valid syntax, and this means the direction of a relationship. And so I have a simple thing where I can formulate this just by describing how these relationships, these edges, or sometimes I call them highway, are traversed when I'm trying to solve something that is heavily related on this relationship thingy, this graph query thingy. And this is different. These kind of questions are different. Then I want to aggregate across countries all my product groups, and this only for the last 27 days. This is a different kind of questions. And now I'm trying to get back to my presentation mode. And it looks, it worked fast. So maybe I'm good with PowerPoint. This was surprising. So this is a very simple GQL question that requires a lot of self joins, a lot of with statements probably, when I want to have the same result in a from a SQL Server or Oracle or whatever. So I am not saying that graph databases are the successor of something. No, it's not. They are solving different problems, or they are here for different problems. So, and this is table, rows, columns, implicit relationships by this foreign key joins. And maybe the most or the biggest difference is that I have something that is called an edge relationship, and this is materialized. So, and whoever, I already mentioned this, I also have materialized relationships, at least one to many, in my semantic models. Yes, but still the query engine behind that, the semantic model, the VertiPack, is currently not providing means, means like these fancy operators that provide the direction that I want to traverse these relationships, these edges, do not provide us these kind of DAX functions. And for this reason, close or similar, I have materialized, but it's not the same. So what I'm doing relational, and most of the time also with the semantic model or the lakehouse, are these by region, total revenue. There is a columnar storage, filtering aggregations. This is what we do right now. Now I have questions that, complex questions that cannot easily or not at all answered by the VertiPack thingy or relational stuff. And for this reason, we need these graph thingies. So I already mentioned that. I have a table, semantic model. I have a row, node instance. This is a node label, because labels, if I'm talking, for this, at least it's when I am trying to understand this graphs, new stuff, I always struggling with new terms like node label, node instance. How does this relate to something I know better? So this is a table can be considered as a node label. One row inside my semantic model in the dimension table might be or is something that can be considered a node instance. A relationship between tables is an edge. So similar, VertiPack. Why is this VertiPack so fast on large amounts of data? Because filter propagation happens because of this materialized views or our one-to-many relationships in a Power BI semantic model. So, and a graph can traverse a relationship, an edge, in multiple directions, forth, back, until I know that I probably know some of you. I know you by the 5th degree or 7th degree on LinkedIn. Somehow we are connected. So this is because of past traversal. One of the key benefits of these graph query engines. So then these are some examples where graph query engines are better than BI semantic models. So maybe the semantic model gives you the surface, the graph reveals the network beneath. I have recommendation engines. If you have ever tried to answer basket analysis with who bought this products and what else, doing this in Power BI with a semantic model, maybe you need some additional tables, things like that. Or what is the shortest path between supplier A and outlet B? Things like that.
Sorry to jump in. We do have a question that I think is quite relevant to the topic that we're on at the moment.
Yes, please.
I'll just go ahead and Pragati, if I bring this on screen, would you like to go ahead and ask it? It's from MVP.
Yeah, I think the question comes from, I think, if I'm correct, this is Rishi Kapra, it's correct. So he's asking, I think he's just commenting on it that, yes, it requires a completely different way of thinking about the data. Have you tried or had any luck in getting Gen AI to read your semantic model and design an ontology around it?
So is my camera on?
Yes.
Damn. Can you please repeat? Is this Richie that we know, or just?
Yes, this is the Rishi we know, if I'm correct.
Can you please repeat the question? I have to be there. I do not want to be.
Yeah. So he's asking, like, if you have.
Now I'm
you
seeing.
can see.
I'm seeing it. The answer is yes, I did. Is this something? Is this sufficient? So basically, there are two. This will change. This will change. So this will change. So the limited factor or limiting factor will go away. And currently, I have a couple of, no, basically I think it's just one slide, and I will go to this slide right now, and then working backwards.
No problem at all. Thanks, Tom.
Are you?
Rishi also mentions that he's not going to hold you to an answer as well.
No. This is no. This is so. This is basically at the end of my presentation. I assume that all of us have heard about Fabric IQ. And it looks like, or Microsoft is promising, it will be the savior for all of our unanswered questions. And most likely, it's not a lie. Most likely, it's not a lie. Most likely, it will not happen tomorrow. So I fell in love with Power BI more than a decade ago. And I was thrilled how fast a couple of things could be done. Until then, I realized that a couple of concepts that have not been available in this tabular model that I was using in the multidimensional model for years. And I was thinking, whoa, this will not survive. It did. It's 10. And if I'm thinking about the semantic model, and if I'm thinking about a measure, I consider this measure as a materialized description formula of a business rule. And I'm not talking about these type of measures where I just have sum of a column. I'm not talking about these kind of measures. I'm talking about at least something like divide this from fact table A by that in fact table B. Because one fact table is having sales and the other fact table has risks. So sometimes, please forgive me for that, because I'm working for an insurance company for quite some time. Sometimes I forgot that my audience is not working for insurance company, and sometimes I'm using words or phrases like risk mitigation, and this might be not that clear. So dividing something from two different fact tables, I consider this simple division a business rule materialized with a proper description, and this proper description is the DAX language. And this is why this is so important for Fabric IQ, for the knowledge graph that Fabric IQ is creating, this ontology. We call it ontology for a great reason. But because ontology is, let's say, some kind of business friendlier description of a knowledge graph, and then this happens, I can reason with my favorite thinking companion. For me, it's Claude. Maybe it's Power BI and Copilot for you. Reason about my data using our data agents. And this reasoning works well because I have a clear description inside my ontology that then is using a knowledge graph to put these pieces together. And currently, if you're coming back to the first question of you, Rishi, did I do this? I did. And Microsoft started out with providing this create an ontology based on a semantic model. This was not the first choice because it is not that simple to derive this knowledge from a measure. It's more simple to derive this knowledge from a gold layer in my lakehouse or similar. But we are closing, or Microsoft is closing in. So, and something here is also important. This is the graph inside Fabric is close to GA. So, and now, so I do not go further because here are some thinkings for that I want to spare for a little bit later. For this reason, I do not want to go there right now.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Tom. Happy to continue.
So perfect. So I just mentioned graph in Fabric will be G8 probably not on Monday next week, but maybe on a Monday in the next couple of months, with couple of months less than 10. So this is graph DB inside Fabric, but it's not something that was built up completely new. No, it's not. It's based on LinkedIn's Liquid engine. And this is probably, if you're using LinkedIn, you can do these searches. How do I know this person? How many hops do I have until I land on his profile or things like that? So there are more than 2 rows in one of the fact tables. Remember, relationships, edges, could be somehow considered being a fact table. There are 270 billion of edges inside LinkedIn's economic graph. 2 million queries per second at almost 99.99% availability. It's so if you delve into this graph DB thingy, there's a one first generation. So fourth generation is the last current generation of graph DBs. So basically it's not just Liquid. So it's also Neo4j. It's horizontally scalable. So what does horizontally scalable mean in context of Fabric? Probably nothing. I just have to buy a larger capacity if my graph queries are getting slow. So basically it's like that. So, and I would consider this, it's battle tested. There's no other graph DB that has this publicly announced number of edges and this number of queries. So this is, I consider this amazing. No, how does this graph thingy work? inside Fabric, I can use a GraphDB on top of my OneLake delta tables. This is the same as Databricks is doing that, unless that Databricks does not have its own graph query engine. Databricks is relying on their partner system. Databricks and Neo4j are doing this on the graph side. It's scaling out. Oops, I'm sorry. Where's my presentation? I lost it. So there are currently some limitations regarding the full stack of GraphQL keywords. So a very important keyword that is currently missing in the implementation, but it's coming. It's the with statement and the filter statement. So this is something that is missing. Then I can do shortest path, Fort immer, whatever these Louvain community detection is. So this is something I have a deep-rooted heritage inside Power BI. However, when I think about a query engine, I'm always second thought, third thought, latest is how do I visualize this in Power BI? So this is a good question. How do I visualize this in Power BI? These things. But then there's also probably you also have experimented with the so-called org apps, the, let's say, successor of the workspace app. And most likely it will happen that there is some kind of new data visualization thingy that allows me to visualize the results of a GQL query. So probably, hopefully, because otherwise it's staring at a query editor pane in Azure, and this is not sufficient. So, and then, oops, sorry. Sorry. Going one way. Business users do not have to learn. There are business users who still are not able to create a SQL statement. So for this reason, it also makes sense that these users are not forced to create DQL queries. For this reason, they can use sentences, natural languages to DQL. So because of the time, I do this demo time. I do this very quickly. So I have a GraphDB inside my Fabric workspace, and I have a very, very simple lakehouse. At the current moment, and this is and this is something I do not like. Graph DBs, if they are connected to a lakehouse as an underlying data source for their graph model, needs this lakehouse without a schema. Basically, all the other features are expecting me to have a schema like one-leg security, things like that. But then I can create, fancy, right? Then I can create, I can do this for hours, staring at this. And so basically it works with both nodes. I'm sorry for that. This is my this is the how I design my graph model. And it took me some time to do this. I have one edge. Okay. So what does this mean? So I have a customer who has a relationship to something that is called order. What? And if I'm looking at my lakehouse, there are a couple of tables. There are customer, and there are somewhere there is something I call purchases. I can't see it right now. I guess I call this purchase, the effect internet sales table. So I have this empty canvas. I have a lakehouse with thousands of delta tables. And then someone asked me, this GraphDB, create nodes. Doing this, I call it product. And no, I can't create a node because I need to add more tables before that. So this requires a new start. No, not a new start, but this requires some learning period. So if you are good with notebooks in Python and Fabric, if you are good with pie charts in Power BI, or DAX, or Fabric Data Factory, this doesn't mean that this is simple. And it takes at least a weekend until you understand what's going on. And this is sad also because of the time. I want to come back to my presentation because there are takeaways. I already mentioned this, that graph databases store relationships explicitly. GQL is a new ISO standard. It's SQL sibling, not its successor. Both will be invented to solve different problems. So your semantic model is already a graph, yes, nodes, relationships, edges, blah, blah, blah. But the query engine is currently not allowing us to traverse. Liquid, this LinkedIn thingy, is doing this perfectly. So this is what you probably need to know or remember. So how does this graph semantic model relate to Fabric IQ? I already mentioned this. And finally, so Arun, the corporate vice president of Azure Data at Microsoft, mentioned during FabCon happening 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks, something like that, not exactly 3 weeks, who knows? Powering much of Fabric IQ is a combination of Power BI industry-leading semantic model and Graph and Fabric. So our highly scalable graph, so both is typically, this is true. And maybe this is also underpinning what I mentioned as I try to answer Rishi's first question. Did I try? Experience was limited. This will go away. So, and this guy, this is me. I say my semantic model define what things are, and also somehow by defining measures how they relate, and the graph defines how they connect. And this is something I'm totally convinced of, that this is fueling our how we answer questions, or how our questions are answered in the closer future. So not the distant future, and the closer future, because there is a graph, a query engine, probably. So this is how we are interacting with the graph knowledge. So with this said, I'm done with my presentation. Thank you for listening to me. And I do not know if are there still questions or new questions. I'm happy to answer that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tom. Let me just go ahead and get us all back on screen here. Really interesting presentation and discussion there. So thank you very much for going through that for us, Tom. I think there's probably a bit more in regards to commentary than questions at this moment in time. I think you've handled most of them that have come in throughout the session. So I'll just hand over to Pragati if you'd like to go through some of the comments that we have.
Yeah, I think we've got 2 comments. One we got from Jake Duty. Comment in the very starting, Tom, when you started this presentation, that for reference, Fabric Graph is a labeled property graph like Neo4j.
So what is the question? So basically, yes. So,
it's just a comment. It's just a comment.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Perfect.
And then we have got other one from Rishi. And I think Rishi has mentioned that I get this is powerful, but Microsoft needs better documentation or training material and completeness of capabilities. We need more session like this, but hands-on.
So I fully agree on this. We need better documentation. And it took me a bit to realize that certain features of this GQL or phrases of this GQL language are currently not implemented. It took me some while. So now there is a limitation section, but when I started doing this, it wasn't there. So it took me some time. Yes, we need better presentation. Not sure if you liked my presentation, Rishi, but this will be not the last presentation about GraphDB, because it's my coming Not replacing my love to Power BI or things like that. No, I can laugh a lot.
I guess your second love then after Power BI, Tom.
So yeah, basically Power BI already is my second love. The first love, of course, not sure if she is listening from a different room, of course. Is so not sure if she's listening, probably not, because she has no idea what this data thing is about.
Excellent. And just on that note as well, Tom, Rishi would say fascinating. So thanks, Tom. So I'm sure he does and has loved
Perfect. Perfect. Cool.
As everybody joining us. I think that's everything from a commentary perspective. Is that correct, Pragati?
Yes, yeah, that's what we have got today.
Oh, fantastic. And Tom, we've shared all of your social media links as well directly with our audience. So thank you very much for that. And once again, it's been a pleasure to have you with us again, and we'd love to have you back with us again in the future as well.
It was a pleasure. And I still, please excuse me, Leon, I still love Pragati's background more than I do yours.
That's
no problem, Tom, at all. You can't want everything. It's a fantastic Easter present to Pragati as well.
So this is that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
And we'd just like to thank everybody that's joined us as well today. Another fascinating session on new technology coming from Microsoft, and you heard it here, potentially coming into GA in the very near future. As always, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you've been here with us at the Microsoft Fabric UK user group. Happy Easter to everybody, and happy Easter to you as well, Pragati.
Happy Easter, everyone, and thanks for joining us. And yeah, watch out for the new sessions that we'll bring for you on the user group. Thank you, everyone.